Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Austin Rosfeld, and I'm here to give you a quick little tutorial on how to use the Far Cry 4 map editor for PC. It's a relatively advanced, surprisingly, and good map editor. You can make a lot of cool things with it. So let's just get right into it. It's pretty simple. Once you load it up, under the Tools section on Steam, you just go to New Map. So you have your different mission objectives over here. If you've played the game, you know what most of them are. But Hunt will be to kill a certain person. Outpost is to do an outpost. Extraction would be to rescue hostages, and Assault is basically just eliminate all the enemies on the map. So you have some pre-made maps right here, but we're just going to go with empty map for now. If you want to use one of the other ones, then that's perfectly fine. So first things first is the terrain editor. So the terrain editor is something that you're going to be using a lot of, and something that you will be needing to know how to use, because no one wants a flat map. Flat maps are boring, and if you're doing it for an assignment or just trying to make a level for maybe a resume or portfolio, it is not going to go well, and you're not going to want employers to look at something like that. So you notice at first you have just this basic tile grid thing, and that's fine if you want it, but we're just going to change that really quickly. So you go over to the texture painter with the hotkey of F11, click on default grid, hit change, and we're just going to change it to a different grass type. So let's just go with jungle leaves grass right here. That's a little ugly, but no, we'll make it work. Um, so basically, the bump map, wow, the bump tool is your basic editor, terrain editor. You just click, it builds mountains. It'll build terrain however you want it. Um, and then then you can hold Control and click, and it will bring it down. Um, the grab mode right here is pretty useful. Basically, just click and drag up and drag down, and it will allow you to do your own things. So instead of having to worry about like, oh, this is gonna go a little bit too fast, you can just click and drag up, and then you have what you want. The lower tool, it's pretty much the same thing as the other one, except it goes in a little bit more bursts rather than a smooth scale. And I believe it is set to a height. Yeah. Okay. So you notice over here where it says height, we raise that up more. It's gonna go a little bit higher. I guess while we're here, might as well go over this. So radius is self-explanatory. I believe it pretty much just makes the circle bigger. Hardness will change the yellow circle inside, which indicates hardness, and it will change how the edge of it is. So you notice that the hardness is all the way up. It's basically like a flat, plain, just straight up circle. If you lower it, it's more smooth. Distortion is somewhat similar to hardness. The only difference is how basically how it works on the middle. And height we discussed already. So relatively self-explanatory. The flatten tool is probably my favorite one in the terrain. I use it all the time. It's very helpful. Basically what it does is allows you to just click on a certain height of an area, and then it creates a flat surface for whatever you move your brush. So if you want to make a mountain with like a plateau, you can easily just do something like this. And then click on the flatten tool and then make it flat. Then you can use the ramp tool to connect the two. And now you have a little ramp going up. And then you can use the ramp tool right there. And now you have like a little mountain. Doesn't look very good, not very usable. But you know, we make it work. The set terrain to height is similar to the raise and lower. It's pretty much the same thing, except it will basically, it sort of works as like the flatten tool. It's a lot more instant, and it's a lot more like you know what height you want it to be. The more you raise or lower the height, the different it'll be. Okay, the smooth tool allows you to go in and just click on edges and it will smooth them out, make them look a little bit nicer. Pretty simple. The noise is basically like a small incremental sort of bump tool, so you can use it for small edits. It's not something that you really would use all that much, especially if you're doing really trying to build up really quickly. The erosion tool we can use right here. As just erosion works in real life, it when water moves on rocks and such, it makes it all jagged and rough. It kind of, takes away part of it. So you can use the erosion tool to give your mountains and such a little bit more appeal. The hole tool, I honestly don't know why anyone would use this, but I'm sure you can figure out a reason. It just adds a hole in the terrain that the player can fall through and basically just gets rid of a part of the map. I guess you could use it if you want to get rid of some of this terrain. Maybe you're making an island or something and you just want to use this one area. The water layers tool is basically used when you're making something like a lake. There's a different thing set for making oceans and stuff like that, but basically all you do is you can change what you want the water to look like. We're just going to stick with the lake small for now, and just click on an area and it builds water in a square little area like that. So now if we wanted to do something like, let's take grab mode off. Grab mode off, I said. Okay. Something like that. Increase the speed. They have a little lake, but you don't have it anywhere else, which is what the water layers is there for. Basically, just to add some basic ponds or lakes or something like that. So now, as we were going in the texture painter before, it's relatively self-explanatory. Basically, you can click on whichever of these you want, and then you can just use it as a brush wherever you want. So you notice how I go and I'm clicking and dragging and it's adding this texture to this texture. For some reason, I don't know if this happens with anyone else, but whenever I am using the texture painter and I click and let go, it stops all the ambient audio. All the ambient audio. I don't know what the point or what the reason of that is, but whatever. Vegetation works pretty much the same way as the texture painter. I just click on trees and you can, or whatever you want. So you add, you have Himalayan, Midlands, all this different stuff you can pick from. And then say we want sledge trees, we can add, click on the large trees. We can click and drag and add some large trees. And we want sledge trees, just go over here, click on the sedge trees, and now you have sedge trees. You can only have one on a certain spot at a time. So if I take the sedge trees and I want to put some of them here, it will get rid of the large trees. So be careful with that. And honestly, the only real way I can see of removing certain types, so say you want just this part gone, but you don't want to get rid of all of it. If you want to get rid of all of it, you could just click on it and click on remove, and it'll get rid of everything. Or you can, if you want to just get rid of a certain spot, honestly, the best way I found is just taking another one, getting rid of that spot you don't want, and then removing that, and then that makes it flat. The roads tool pretty much works the same way. Basically, you just click in whatever road you want, click on this pen add thing, click and drag, and then whenever you want to be like a little bend, start clicking and changing up the spots. And then you made a little road. Not that anyone's going to be able to go on that road, but whatever, doesn't matter. Map limits are relatively self-explanatory. Once someone leaves this area, the game will tell them you need to make sure you get back within the map limits or else you're going to be killed or something like that. Over here in the environment tool, you can change the time of day on a slider. You can change the cloud type. I think there's what, four different types. It's really up to you, whichever one you want to use. Water level is the tool that you use to create oceans. So you can click and drag, and it raises the water level. So say you just want to build an island, and not just like a lake, you would probably end up using the water level tool rather than anything else. So now we have this little island over here. Ambient light just changes how the world looks. If it's hazy, it'll be a little bit foggy. Orange sky will be like that Shangri-La one stuff. We're just gonna go back to High Mountain. And then ambient sound just changes what the game sounds like while you're playing it. So we're gonna change that to almost silent for now. Those bugs are pretty loud. So we're just gonna quickly make a small little crappy thing right here. So basically the only other thing that we have left to do is show you how to put in people and buildings and items. So you want to click over on the add button right here, and basically you have all this drop down menus of all these different things that you can pick from. Large buildings, small objects, ammo pickup, corpses, decals, things like that. So if we just want to build like a small town on here, you can just click and drag, or not click and drag, just click and then move your cursor into the scene and click again, and then now you have these buildings. And then, using the other things like the small objects and such is what you would use to go and make your level look better and make it, you. Gameplay objects is something that allows you to put in your player spawn point. So you want to click in player spawn point and add him there. Objective marker will add a marker on the player's map to say, hey, go this way. Ambient AI will add in civilians and allied people that can come in and help you. And also animals. Relatively easy to get. So to add AI, this is where you get the different enemies that you can put in. So if you've played the game, you probably pretty much know how most of these go. But I mean, it's self-explanatory. I believe the Beheader is a melee guy. Berserker is like a big, heavy kind of thing. Rocket uses a rocket launcher. Assaulter uses a assault rifle. Things like that. But what you want to do is click and move them here or wherever. We're just going to use it here for now. And then using the rotate tool, just move him. He's taking a little guard over this nothing area right there. And then you can go over to your AI navigation. Will make sure that the AI is only able to stay within these certain areas. It will show you where the AI is able to go. So, last thing to really talk about is the animation points. So animation points sometimes work, they sometimes don't. Honestly, it's the worst thing about this editor, I think. It's just super unreliable. But you want to go into the add, go over to animation points for characters, and then click on something like guard, place it there, and rotate it, and now he should be guarding looking this way. You can see that there's a little arrow on the edge of the person. So wherever the arrow is facing is the direction that the person should be looking during the animation point. Keyword there being should be looking. It doesn't really happen a lot, honestly. You can change the duration. You can change anything. Sometimes they'll work, sometimes they won't. Sometimes you'll place an enemy over here, and then he'll walk all the way down and use this animation point, and this guy will just be wandering around. Honestly, it's really up to the person that's using the editor to figure out how to work around that and figure out what to do with that. Modifiers over up here in the modifier menu, they allow you to, just modify the character, modify how the game works. So if you want your thing to be headshots only, where you can only kill enemies with headshots, you can click that on, and now you can only kill enemies with headshots. Modify jump height will change how high you jump, things like that, relatively self-explanatory. It's pretty fun to come in here and mess with. Player skills, you basically have your basic ones, which are just things like, you can use a wingsuit and stuff like that, or all, which gives you all the abilities that you have or that you can achieve in the base game. And player's inventory will give you however or whatever weapons and items that your character will start out with when you play the game. So in the actual editor itself, in order to save a map properly and verify it, quote unquote, you need to do these things up here. So you need to have at least one enemy in wave 1, so that's him. One player spawn point, which is him. And then you also have to take a snapshot. So in order to take a snapshot, you want to go over here to the map properties, find a good little picture, and then just hit capture. It takes picture, and now you have basically a short little, or like a small screenshot of what your map is going to look like. And once you have that done, you can hit file, save. We'll save it as tutorial level, saving map. And now that it's done, we're all good. We can test our level now if we want. Let's see with the rifle and all. So let's just hit play. Accept. And he's fought. And that is very loud. I apologize. But yeah, that's a quick rundown on how to use the Far Cry 4 map editor. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below, or email me. My email is on my blog, which will be set in the description. On that blog, I basically just post game reviews and other various game design related things. And you can see maybe some screenshots or videos of some maps I have made in different engines too. So with that, I will leave you to make your own Far Cry 4 map, and have a great day.